All right. We'll give people a few minutes to just pile in. For now, let's just sort of sit here and breathe and just let the dust settle a little bit.
Hello.
Hey there.
Hi.
How's the sound tonight? Is it working?
Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay, good.
I'm gonna go back to no video and mute myself tonight.
Sounds good. We'll give people a few minutes just to keep coming in.
Yeah. All right. Everything okay with you?
Everything's okay with me.
All right. Good.
Thanks for asking.
Bye. I'll still be here.
Okay. Interrupt me if you have any questions.
Okay.
Okay. Let's just get started, and people can come in when they come in. I have a feeling we might have a sparsely attended class tonight, which is just fine. So, as always, we start by just letting our day come to a stop. By just sitting here and breathing. Notice the room that you're in. Notice all the parts of yourself that are reaching out to other moments from your day or from tomorrow. And just sort of call them back into this moment. Time for all parts of you to just come back into this room and be here now. And be aware of your body just sitting in the chair or wherever you're sitting. Just feel the weight of your bones and their gentle relationship with gravity. Hugging you to the earth. What if this moment, right here, right now, what if this were enough? What if this were the eternal moment? And what if you could accept that in a way that you could just really give yourself to it? Really let yourself expand comfortably into this moment. without frantically reaching to other moments? Who would you be? What would you be? What would you be without all of your stories? Without every wonderful and horrible thing that's ever happened to you? Dragging along behind you like a bag of bricks and shiny gold. What if you left that bag and just came here now? This is where everything is happening. Notice how you're breathing in this moment. Don't try and manipulate it. Just notice it. Right now, its rhythm is set by all the moments outside of this moment that you're hanging on to. But it itself is in this moment. So if you pay attention to it, its rhythm will naturally start to clean itself up. Until it does, notice that you're not fully in sync with what's actually present now. In a way, everything is present except for you. The whole universe is just here, living, breathing, pulsating in the now while you plan your dinner. While you play with something that pissed you off earlier in the day. Or something that scares you in the future. Let it all go. And be here, be present with what's left. Pay close attention to the breath. And when your past and your future try to pull you away, gently return. Gently return. Gently return. For anyone who just entered the room, we're focusing on the present moment. We're noticing the room that we're in. We're noticing the weight of our body, the heaviness of our bones. And we're watching our breath. How many breaths can you take without leaving this moment? Notice. The present moment is an important doorway for the meditative state. It doesn't lead anywhere different than the breath leads. But for some people, it leads more quickly to an understanding of what meditation is. The reason being that the present moment is something that is existing always. And it's something that if you are really here, if you're really here and you're really present, you're actually more functional, not less functional. And most people, when they think of meditation, they think of meditation as something rather sleepy, something that is not, well, something that is divorced somehow from doing. You know, it's the great not doing. And there's some truth to that, but really what meditation is it's a doorway into reality. And by reality, I mean the part of life that is not subject to the dictates of your mind. You know, the part of life that you don't have to hold in place with an internal dialogue. It's the part that's left when you've stripped away all of your pushing and pulling, all of your manipulations, all of your mental conjuring, and are just abiding in what's left. What I like about the present moment doorway into meditation is that it captures all of this. It's not sleepy. Actually, it's quite acute. You know, you'll have periods of relaxation with this, but there are moments in life where your meditative state just sits on the edge of a razor, just perfectly poised, ready to move in any direction 360 degrees at a moment's notice, because you're just not attached to any one thing. You're not clinging to any one thing. But again, the most important thing is that it's functional. If you do your work this way, you're going to actually see more of the options available to you in that work. You're going to understand more of what's happening around you. You're going to notice the causes and effects of things in a way that's actually going to make every day leave you with greater and greater wisdom as to how to navigate the moments that you're in. Another important thing that this does is it keeps you from storing other people's karma, for lack of a better word. By karma, what I mean is, you know, because of the things that we've habitually said and done in our life, and because we are beings that carry memory and feeling, we walk around with all of these heavy memories that are kind of glued to us through the feeling that we attach to them. And when we come in contact with other people, we start projecting a lot of that ugliness. People don't necessarily see the memory, although some do. But what they see is heaviness, annoyance, anger. Probably more than anything, they see discomfort. You know, so in that sense, we really are all kind of open books. You know, anybody who spent any time with me this evening probably knows that I'm tired, that I have spent my day doing things that I'm a little tired of doing. You know, you can feel it. There's no hiding it. But when people carry very heavy things or act in very ugly ways, you know, we have experiences, and those experiences become memories, and we attach our own feelings to that. And as we attach our feelings to the projection of other people's ugliness, you know, other people's misdeeds, I guess, we actually then become someone who is carrying that inside of ourselves. We now have something in common with that person, you know, mostly through our judgment of them. You know, so we now have something similar in the bag that we're carrying that they have. When you live in the present moment, you actually let go of the bag entirely. And what that means is you're no longer storing these people's karma. Now, the personality has built itself out of its stored karma. And so when that happens, it will come in to try and remind you to complain about so-and-so, or try and remind you to be nervous about something coming up, or to try and remind you to just do whatever obsessive habit it is you usually do. And so you have to make a practice of just letting it go and coming back to this moment, letting it go and coming back to this moment. But the gripes we have with other people, that can be one of the hardest things to let go of. And the reason that it's so hard is because on some level we feel like if we don't carry it and continue beating on them in our head, it's almost like saying they were right to do the horrible things that they did. Or they were somehow right to be as unpleasant as they were, or annoying, or inconsiderate. And our egos don't like that, you know? We feel like we don't want to admit that. And so it's important to understand you can't enter the present moment without letting go of that. You can't gain access to it. And so I think the idea of understanding and recognizing that what you're basically doing is just storing their karma for them makes it a little easier to let it go. You don't want to become a storage vault for the ugliest things in another person. We have enough of our own things to deal with. Funny thing is, though, the more you let go of the stuff you're storing for other people, the more you let go of all of your own stuff. Because we're really all pulling from the same source. So rather than think about that a lot, instead just let it come in. It'll continue to build inside of you, and, you'll have little realizations about it that you aren't even expecting later on. But with a teaching like that, just let it in. Don't play with it too much. Stay in this moment. Stay open. Nothing to understand. But that's the beauty of the present moment. It's real. It's happening now. And it is free from the past and the future. It's also built on the cycles of what you were just doing. But it's free from the meanings that you assigned to it in the past. You give it a chance to become something new. I had a teacher that used to describe that in terms of you get the opportunity to finally live a new day. She used to say that everybody lives the same 5 or 6 days over and over and over again. They have the same gripes. They have the same concerns, the same complaints, the same comforts, the same likes. And they just do it over and over again on a cycle every single day. When you step into the present moment, you actually get to step into a new day. It's actually the way out of that cycle. Buddhists call it the cycle of samsara. And it's this just constant reaching for something good, crashing down into something bad, reaching for some comfort because you crashed into something bad, and then the comfort kind of taking over and just leading you back down. Over and over and over again, just this cycle of pushing and pulling, reaching and falling, all of this striving. And what all of it really is, if you were to really try and define it in one term, it's a rejection of the present moment. All of it. It's a reach outside of this moment, insisting that things be different than they are. The second you stop resisting the moment that is right here, right now, all of the ugly meanings you've assigned to everything lift right off of it, and it no longer has to keep reflecting all of your limitations back to you. It can actually just reflect the clarity of a present mind. So how do we get there? Any one of a million ways. It's really more a matter of attention, vigilance, gentle vigilance, and awareness. So you can practice watching the breath as we've taught in this class a million times. But it could even just be stepping outside your house and really listening with every fiber of your being. Try and see if you can hear the wind 5 blocks away from you. In fact, listening is one of the best ways to enter into the present moment. You can even try it now. Right now, sink back into this moment. Don't think about anything we just said. It'll take care of itself. And just listen. See if you can hear that. There's this little high-pitched ringing sound that if you just make yourself really quiet and really listen for, you should be able to hear it. Doesn't matter what other noise is around. It's there underneath all of it. Really listen. If you're not hearing it, relax your body and your breath a little more. Slow yourself down. And really listen. Listen with your ears. Feel its vibration with your skin. Invite every cell of your body and your being to listen. How quiet can you be? Can you be quieter than that sound in your heart, in your mind, in your breath? That sound is the freedom of the present moment. It has no agenda. But it's a very special sound. The more you listen to it, the more you resonate with it. And the more you resonate with it, the more you come to understand it. It actually carries information. It's not verbal information, but it's information. Nothing to take my word for. Let your curiosity lead you into the sound. You'll see it for yourself in a year or so. Let's sit in the present moment together, listening to the sound of the freedom of the present moment. How quiet can you be? Relaxed and alert, listening. let's talk a little bit. So you should be able to notice that when you give your attention to that sound and you yield your own noise to it, you make yourself as quiet as you can be, as subtle as you can be, so that you can continue keeping your attention on that sound, that it starts to deepen. It deepens, it gains more dimension. Maybe you don't notice that yet, but you will. If you focus on it, if you give yourself to it, that experience of that sound will deepen. That sound, that ringing in the silence, has a resistanceless power to it. The power of just being completely given. There's no manipulation, there's no pushing or pulling. The second you push or pull, the sound disappears. When you are really listening to that, there is no manipulated you present. So what that means is that when you do things in concert with that sound, usually they come to fruition very cleanly and very quickly. The place I first learned that was actually chopping wood. In my spiritual training, I think probably because of my aversion to physical labor, I was made to do a tremendous amount of physical labor. Years of construction work and you name it. At any rate, I was in a very cold climate and I was chopping wood, and wood gets wet and it can be very difficult to get an axe through it. And what I came to learn was that if before I swung the axe, I could hear that sound and just sort of give my body, give my movement over to the sound, the same way that you do when you try and make your breath so quiet that you're being quieter than the sound of the silence. If I could swing my axe in that same way, sit there, focus, and swing my axe in that same way, the axe would go through the wood every single time. A piece of wood that otherwise, you would have to take several whacks at and then get this big metal wedge and stick it in and pound down on the wedge to try and split this wood that doesn't want to split. Somehow, when you come at it from this place of just, what you're there to do, and there's just no pushing, no pulling, no manipulation, no conjuring, no tricks. You're just 100% open and given to the reality of the here and now.
Release.
100% given to the reality of the here and now. Whatever the intention of that moment was just happens, and the wood splits effortlessly. And what's amazing about that is that, sometimes you have a lot of wood to split. And that means that you can actually turn that entire activity into meditation. That entire activity becomes meditation. That can happen when you are cleaning a dish. That can happen when you are brushing your teeth. That can happen when you are walking your dog. Tonight, if you've really given yourself to listening to the silence, after this class is over, walk outside and just look at the world around you. And what you're going to see is a reflection of the silence back at you. You're going to see the perfected stillness of your mind reflected back to you in some way in the world around you. You know, I used to teach my meditation classes live, and I would go to people's houses, or I would go to a library, or, whatever. I taught in a yarn shop for a while. But after every class, I would walk out with like one of my advanced students, and we would step outside and we would both just stop for a second, because the night sky was so beautiful and the chaos that was there when we first got there was gone. There was just this reflection of beauty and stillness and perfection. And what you're looking at is your mind. You've literally changed your world just through removing all the manipulations from your mind. All the insistences that this moment be different in some way. By just no longer insisting on it, the moment has become perfect. That's what meditation does. And that's what listening to the sound of the silence does. But what's nice about the sound of the silence is you actually can't really hear it without letting go of all the things standing in its way. So let's go back into practice, unless there's a question. Right now I've got you all muted, but if you have any questions, you can unmute yourself and just ask them. Is there a question before we go back in? Okay. So we're going to go back to our breath. And you're going to just listen. Listen to see if you can hear just the faintest ringing sound. Maybe for you, the beginning of it is even just a buzzing sound. But it's just, for most people, it's a high-pitched ringing sound. In the beginning, you might hear it more on one side than the other. And as it balances you out, you'll just hear it all over. And what you're going to do is you're just going to make yourself quieter than that sound. As you're breathing, you're going to make the breath quieter than that sound. Make that sound the primary focus. And if you do that, the power of your attention on that sound will actually bring you into alignment with it. And the sound will start to deepen. Go for it. Notice how it pulls you in deeper. I've never found the end of it. It's just deeper and deeper and deeper, sinking more and more into this moment. Notice how if you look around the room, you're present in a way that you weren't before. And it all kind of contains that sound. Keep your attention on the sound. With your attention on the sound, the room can be exactly what it needs to be. Everything can grow and evolve exactly the way it needs to evolve. And you will find your most natural place within all of it. Just through releasing all pushing and pulling, all manipulation, you will naturally bob up to exactly where you're supposed to be. Notice the comfort that you feel. That comfort is your real self. That comfort is reality. Nothing's actually wrong. Even if bad things are happening. You're not assigning any meaning to them right now. And so your reality is nothing is actually wrong. So how much power do we want to give bad things? We can deal with them, sure. But we can deal with them the way you swing an axe through wood. You can give yourself to that thing that is present whether you're listening or not. One of the few things that you can quickly access that's real, that isn't just a product of your mind, your past fears and desires. And you can wed yourself to it and walk through your difficulties in the comfort and clarity and the embrace of the silence. There's no end to it. You could meditate on that for the rest of your life and always go deeper, deeper, deeper. For some of you, this technique is going to really resonate. For others, it'll be a different technique. But I've always thought this one was pretty special. This week, I want you to spend time every day with the sound of the silence. Spend time with it in your meditation. Even if you're practicing another technique, you can practice that technique while you listen to this sound. That just means that technique becomes like you're swinging an axe. You find the sound, you give yourself to the sound, and then whatever technique you're practicing, can you make it quieter? then that sound. Really bring it into alignment with just the natural authenticity of that sound. See what you can pull off. Maybe once a day, try and bring it into one of your actions. When you get really good, bring it into a conversation with a difficult person. You have to find a way to do it without having a creepy look on your face. Pro tip. But you can do that, you know. If you don't look all tranced out, you can have a conversation with somebody very difficult, but literally let go of everything you know about them and just listen to the sound. Don't store any of the negative stories that they've handed you to store. And instead, in that moment, just be there with them cleanly. It's kind of amazing. You know, I do this in my classes when we're live. I don't know if we can do it over Zoom. But sometimes what I'll do is I'll sit a student who's been with me for a long time down, and just to show them what this is like, I will, sit with them just like a normal person, as if we were having coffee, and I'd have them pay attention to all the feelings in their body. And then I would release everything I know about them. Literally let go of everything I know about them. You know, you get to a point where you can do this sort of stuff. And they are just whatever they are sitting in front of me, free to inform me on a clean slate, but with my attention still awake and intact and looking at them, to show them how much power we have over each other's feelings. Invariably, what they feel is just this whole net of karma lift off of them. You know, whatever they stored in me was gone. You know, when you can have a conversation with someone like that, you set them free to become what they can become, whatever they're ready to become. And that's a really special thing, because most people, in most moments, really, you sit down with them and you just kind of feel like who you've always been when you were around them. It's one of the things that can actually make it difficult to visit your families sometimes, right? Because all of their ideas of you come from a time in your life that was so long ago, when you had so little control over what happened to you. And so when you sit there, you just find yourself feeling kind of squirrely sometimes. And it's because people are carrying stuff from a very long time ago with you. Not negatively necessarily, but it's just out of sync with who you are now. And so you feel uncomfortable. And then it can be a relief sometimes when you get away from it. And then other times they're just, when they're enjoying themselves and everybody's just having a good time, nobody's really looking at the karmic vault. They're just focused on something else, and it's enjoyable. But sometimes it's uncomfortable. And it's because people have a lot of memories of us. But, one of the greatest gifts you can give somebody is to just release everything you know about them and give them a chance for a new day with you in this moment. If you can't do that yet, keep meditating. You'll get there. It's not as hard as you would think. But that's your homework for this week. I want you to start listening to that sound, and try bringing it into your day. Are there any questions about that? Okay, guys. Well, I wish you a beautiful evening. You are absolutely welcome. Thank you. And get a good night's rest tonight. Oh, but walk outside. Walk outside and notice the reflection of your mind in the environment. Okay. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.
Night.